Welcome to another episode of High Proof Ashes. I am Jason JB Smoke, and my partner over here.
I'm Duran. No cool nickname, but we will get there, I promise. This is episode 3, and I'm back to backing, finishing up a cigar here. This is a Liga Privada H99, so back to back like Drake.
Yep.
Going into our next smoke.
I mean, I nubbed mine, so there's nothing left of mine. So I am gonna get into our next smoke here, and this is something that you have not had before.
I have not tried, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So you've looked a little bit into this one, so
absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's Romeo y Juliet. It is Nicaraguan. It's a puro, which means that it comes from all one country. Mm-hmm. This is for their non-traditional smoker, right? So it's supposed to be their new thing. So this is not the original, but it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to trying. And if you've watched the podcast up to this point, one of the themes is Jason is going to take me down this rabbit hole of cigars that I have not tried, mm-hmm. to see if we can find some new things outside of the traditional cigars that I smoke that I might enjoy. So
that's right.
Looking forward to getting into this. But we also have 2 great bourbons here.
Yes.
One that is very affordable.
Yes.
One that is a little less affordable.
Yes.
But they both come from the same distillery.
They do.
You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, I thought it would be nice to to showcase 2 different bourbons from the same distillery. One is the standard King's Bourbon, King Distillery Bourbon, and I believe it's a 5-year. And what we have next to it is their Honey Barrel Finish Bourbon. Mm-hmm. And this was a barrel pick from Rupin at Red Hot. So
shout out to Rupin.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Rupin. And if you haven't visited his shop, I definitely welcome you to go in and visit him. He has dozens of barrel picks, and
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. Whew. And if I recall, I want to say in our first video I said that there was something like 25 he was going to do this year, but the last conversation I had with him, it was more like 50.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a very big investment that he's done, and I definitely welcome you to go and check out his store. Most of this stuff he has open. He has a bottle open that you can try right there in the store. Mm-hmm. So you're not having to buy it without trying it.
As I always say, drink responsibly, right?
Yes. Yes.
Our podcast is definitely about different bourbons, whiskeys, and cigars, but please drink and smoke responsibly.
And drink plenty of water.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll see us do that a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pour. And I think you've got a little bit in your glass.
I already have. I started with the standard King's Bourbon.
Okay.
And this one closely fits our criteria. I want to say it's a $40 bottle. Okay. So it's kind of on the higher end of our $30 to $40. It is a 5-year, so it meets that criteria. Okay. And what's the proof on it?
So that one is the honey. So let's look and see what the standard is. The standard is 107.
Okay.
So 53.5 alcohol volume.
So definitely meets our criteria.
Absolutely.
And, I think that this one is, I don't want to call it a hidden gem, because I feel like, I don't know, just looking at the bottle, I sort of expect something good out of it, right?
Yeah.
It's a 5-year, it's a 107, decently priced. And I think it's a really good, maybe better than everyday drinker. I don't know, but definitely could fit into someone's everyday drinker portfolio. And
I'm a fan of Kings in general, because I like the Ryconic.
The Ryconic is great.
So I like that a lot.
And I think Rupin has a barrel pick of that.
He does have a barrel pick. Yeah. Unfortunately, I drank my bottle. It was signed. It was autographed.
Oh, it was signed.
Right. So I drank 2 of those. That's how much I like it. I drank 2 of the signed Ryconic bottles. I tossed one and I kept the other.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll get into that, and let's also, I guess, go ahead and drink a little, spark our cigars.
Yes.
Get into this. So, first thoughts?
So this one, it's very sweet on the nose. Mm-hmm. At least to me it is.
Okay.
And I think it's a little deceiving. At 107 proof, you would expect to smell the ethanol,
Yeah.
and it's there, but the sweetness and the oakiness, and the other bourbon smells that you get are all very much present.
So for me, it's very pleasant on the palate right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, right? Especially being at 107 proof, sometimes you can get a little bit of a harsher taste out of some bourbons. And you'll see me and Jason are both like kind of swishing it around,
Yeah.
chewing on it a little bit is
Yeah.
what we call it, right? Trying to get all of those different flavor notes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if I can name off the different flavors.
Right.
That's not my forte. I can tell you if one is pleasurable to my palate
Yes.
or not.
Yes.
But this one, I think, from initial impressions, is very good. So I'm going to light up my cigar
Yeah,
and see how that goes with
It's
the bourbon.
definitely approachable, I think.
Agreed.
At the various the price point and the proof, 107 I think might be a little high for some folks. They might think, I don't really like to go over 100, but this one does not drink like it's 107.
I agree.
This very much drinks like it's sub 100 proof.
Absolutely.
And that's not to knock it at all. That's a compliment. Any time we talk about a bourbon that is drinking under its proof is a compliment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There are times where we will drink something in the 1 teens or the 120s and be like, wow, that drinks like it's it's 100 proof or whatever. But anyway, the cigar.
Yeah. So this is from your personal stash, right?
It is, yes.
So tell me about this. As far as price point, what would this cost if I went to go buy it at my local shop?
This is it's like $8 to $10.
Okay.
If I recall correctly. Cigar prices have gone up significantly in the past year or two. So I might be a buck or two off, but I think this is $8 or $10. You can. We've talked about Cigar Page before, and that's where I got these, and they've got them at a very affordable price. I'm not going to say the number.
Go research yourself.
You can go look that up yourself. But this is, as far as Romeo, the portfolio of Romeo goes, this one and the San Andreas, really the only two that I really like. And they've done well with the goal, which was to capture the non-traditional kind of cigar smoker.
Okay.
And you've talked about before that you're a traditional cigar smoker. But I think that this has a bit more flavor, a bit more strength, a bit more complexity. Than what the cigar world would call traditional cigars.
I can tell you one thing. I
world.
really like the band. So I know a lot of times for me when I pick out cigars, right? Like especially something I haven't tried, like the band is one of those things I look at. Like,
of course,
did the band catch my attention?
It sells the product.
It does, right? So the color profile on this with black, orange, and some gold laced in there, it's a very good looking cigar, especially because I like torpedoes. So
I actually have another Vitola of this in my collection. But I specifically picked the torpedo because I know how you like torpedoes.
Yeah, right. So I'm a big fan of torpedoes. I'm going to go with a guillotine cut on this one, which just means a straight cut.
I mean, I've got the V cut.
I know you got it. It's cool, but I want to get a little bit more smoke production from this one, right? Because it's my first time trying it. I'd like to have a little bit more smoke. And then maybe next time, if I really enjoy it, we'll go with the V cut, which will bring it back a little bit and give me a little more flavor out of it. But I'm a big fan of smoke production, so let's see how this thing works out. So you're toasting the foot there.
I am.
I'm
a big fan of toasting it.
So for those people that are novice cigar smokers, what's the purpose of toasting the foot?
It kind of just it adds some nuance to the foot of the cigar before you start drawing in that flame and the heat through the length of the cigar. Right. So what I've done is I've burnt the end of the cigar, right, but nothing's come through it yet.
Right.
And of course now we'll go ahead and light it.
Light it, right.
But what that's done is just add a little bit of nuance to the lighting experience. you know, and there's nothing wrong with just
Going straight for it,
just
right?
going straight for it and lighting it, you know, and puffing on it and get it going. But I like the little nuance that it does to the foot, and we like to we like to review is the wrong word. Um, we like to comment on how the cigar tastes, you know, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right. And doing this little bit of light, and you can, I don't know if you can see it on film, but it's smoking ever so slightly. Right. And so it's just barely lit. I mean, I probably couldn't even puff on this to actually do anything.
Right.
And so toasting it just does that extra little bit.
Well, it also helps with getting a good even light.
It does.
Right?
It does. Right.
So
doing it this way, you can actually see what you're doing. Right.
Absolutely.
You know, and then, you know, then you go to lighting it, and you know, it's a little harder to see. But
I'm a big fan of getting a cold draw through a brand new cigar to see what I get. Right. And again, I'm not going to give you any tasting notes. I'm not a guy that's going to pop up and say, "Oh, I taste leather." Sometimes I can taste a little bit of pepper and some things like that.
That's good.
But also just a little bit about the cut. If you look at most cigars, they have what's called a cap, right? So you can see basically where you want to stay above when you cut. So
That's
if
right.
you look at your cigar, you can kind of rotate it a little bit, see that there's a cap on it, and you know to cut above that cap, and that'll keep your cigar from unraveling most times, right?
That's right. Yes.
So I'll go ahead and I'm going to toast the foot of mine too. If I can get my lighter to work here. It's being temperamental.
You know, you'll notice that when I light my cigar, what I tend to do is I draw in the flame, take the puff,
clicking.
and as I'm exhaling the puff from the light, I pull the flame away just a little bit, because I don't want the flame to just torch the tobacco while I'm not doing anything with it, right? You know, whereas you're actually lighting it from underneath, right? And so it's just a different technique, and I'm a little more direct. And so, you know, when I'm lighting, I'm a little more direct flame, puff in, and then I kind of pull the flame away to give myself that breath, and then I put it back to the cigar, take another puff, pull it away, you know. So it's just a different technique, and you know, it all comes down to your preference.
Absolutely. So I can tell you, I like right off the bat, like
it's a different flavor, isn't it?
It's a very different flavor profile.
Yeah.
Right. So very surprising, but also like the smoke production from the initial light is very, very good. So I don't know how much you guys can see from, you know, what we're actually recording here, but that initial light gave me a lot of smoke through, you know, up top here, and then so faintly we can see the whisk of smoke coming off the cigar. So far so good. Good light on the foot, very tasty initially, but good pick so far, man. Yeah. Good pick so far.
I don't think you're gonna get the like full body, full strength, full flavor, but it's not intended to. It's to me, it's a very much medium bodied, medium strength, you know, kind of medium flavored, and I think you're going to get some different nuanced flavors throughout the cigar.
Okay.
And so the tame that they put on the strength lets you taste those flavors, right? So you're going to hear me talk about that a lot. That I'm all about full strength, full bodied cigars.
Absolutely.
But there are times where pulling that strength back and letting the flavor shine is really great, you know, and we've talked about the Damaso before. That the Damaso is a great example of what I'm talking about.
Right.
It is not a full strength cigar.
Not at all. Not even close.
And it just lets the flavors shine. You know, so
well, so also with smoking a full body cigar, sometimes the flavors can get lost, right? Because some manufacturers go strength.
It's
over
all
flavor.
Strength. Yeah,
it's all strength, no flavor.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that I'm a big fan of, flavor over strength, but I'm also a full body guy, so I like a full strength cigar. But I also want to taste some different things coming through the tobacco. And so far, I feel like this does a very good job of that.
It's different, right?
Yeah, it's very different.
It's not something you would have thought to buy,
right? I probably wouldn't have bought it, just because, again, with me being a traditional guy, I stick to the traditional
Romeo is
brands.
not a brand that you smoke very much of,
Right,
right?
but it is a traditional brand.
The brand is, but this portfolio line, whatever of the newer stuff that they're doing is very much gauged to the
newer, younger cigar smoker.
That's a good way to say it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
So and you know we love those classic cigar smokers. I tend to be one of those, even though I'm a younger person. Arturo Fuente. Right.
So we love that stuff, but we also like
to branch
some
out.
of the other stuff. You know, we don't always want that same type of experience. Every now and again, we want something different, and and so I think that's one of the great things about cigars is there's just so much of a gradient out there.
Absolutely.
And so
one of the things I'm noticing is the very good even burn, right?
Yes.
Yes. It burns very well, and to be a sub $10 cigar, which again I don't know what it costs today. We're talking about what we know it used to cost, right? From just the conversations we've had.
Yeah, I want to say it's like an $8 to $10 cigar. I haven't looked it up recently, but it's something like an $8 to $10 cigar at your retail store.
That's the benefit of having a humidor the size he does, right? Like my humidor holds like 300 cigars, and your humidor holds like 2,000. I mean, is that a little much? Maybe 1,500.
It's purported to hold 5,000 to 6,000.
Holy cow!
I've never even had close to that. I mean, I may have gotten it up to 1,000. I can't even imagine maybe if you didn't have boxes, like the boxes take up quite a bit of room,
right?
But speaking of a humidor, so you want to make sure that if you buy a humidor that holds a certain number, you really want to hold it at least a third to maybe even half that number. Absolutely. At any given time. And what that means is that you will be able to hold the humidity at a good level, a good steady level, right? And humidity is so important to cigars. People talk about their preferences. Some people it's as low as 65. Some it's as high as 72%. What we're talking about here, and you really have to find out what works best for you, what works best for the cigars that you smoke. Because some cigars, they react better to a lower or higher humidity.
Right, absolutely.
For me, my number is somewhere in the mid 60s.
That's mine too.
Like 67-ish.
That's mine too.
Something like that.
And I've got a chest, so mine's is it sits on the floor, and like I said, it holds about 300 cigars, and on average, it's somewhere between 66 and 69 humidity. So.
And you use Boveda packs?
Yes, yeah. I do. So of course, I seasoned it the traditional way of seasoning with like a sponge with no fragrance and no extra additives to the sponge, whatever that might be. But taking distilled water and just taking all of the cigars out, wiping down the humidor real well with the sponge, getting it damp, not overly saturated, but damp.
That's right.
That's right. And then giving it a couple of days to soak up into the wood and get it well seasoned, and then adding my cigars back. And when you're seasoning your humidor, you can ultimately, there's a couple of different ways to store your cigars while you're doing that. Like my current way is gallon Ziploc bags, right? Like I have 2 or 3 of those that I throw all of the cigars in. Throw a couple of Boveda packs in there. Right, keep them in that until the humidor is seasoned, and then throw it back in. Because even after seasoning your humidor, you still need to repeat that process later on down the line, right?
It's possible.
So it doesn't always keep.
It's possible.
So you might have to do it, every year.
Especially if you run low,
right?
Like I'm talking about that whole like 25 to 50% capacity. If you run under 25% for any length of time. You may find that you're going to have to reseason that thing. It's possible. So, and now your humidor, you bought it new?
No, I did not buy it new.
So you bought it used. Okay, I didn't know that.
I bought my humidor used, right? A friend of ours at the lounge. I had like a desktop glass humidor. right? Only held about 20 cigars.
Yep. Good
And
starter.
yeah, and I quickly realized, like, once I came back to Tennessee, that that was not big enough for me.
Right. Wasn't gonna cut it.
Because I was a member of a cigar lounge, and my infatuation with cigars was growing. So I was starting to have more and more cigars laying around.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to my wife, she'll tell you too many cigars laying around. But so I had to upgrade my humidor. He gave me a really good price on it, and
Okay.
a humidor that would have probably cost 250, $300. I bought it well below
Right.
what it would have cost, because he had a couple different ones that
Yep.
he was just sitting on and not using. So I got lucky, right?
So,
Friends of the community.
So there's a lot of people who they're downsizing or they're upsizing, and they're literally just trying to get rid of their humidor that they've been using for whatever reason, and they're typically getting rid of it for a very good price.
Yeah.
So you did exactly what I did, and the humidor that I have now is I'll say my third humidor.
Okay.
My first humidor was just a little desktop, 25 count, humidor, right? And I think I used Boveda packs then as well. I learned really early on that like Boveda is the way to go.
Yep.
There's a few other brands out there that do the same thing.
Right.
What is it? Vertigo, I think, is one.
Yep.
So you don't have to go Boveda, but that type of humidification is really great. It's very superior over the beads and the juice and and all that kind of stuff.
It's plug and play, as I would like to say, right? Like
it very much is. It very much is.
You open the pack,
Mm-hmm.
you throw it in the humidor, and you just move on.
That's right.
Right? Like, so it's not a whole lot to do with it. Whereas with beads, right, you got to monitor them a lot.
You do. You
got to keep a watch on it.
So I'm going to get to that in just a minute here, but my second one was it was what was called a countertop humidor.
Okay.
So it was mostly glass with two doors that opened up like this, and it was actually intended for like a bar top.
Okay.
That was really what it was for.
Okay.
Right.
That makes
so
sense.
the doors opened up to the bartender, and then everything else was glass. So as a customer,
you seen it from the back.
That's right. You could see everything that was in there, and the trays that were in there only held like 2 layers deep. So you could see everything that was in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it really appealed to me from a visual perspective. I just really liked it. I actually ended up buying 2 of them.
Gotcha.
I put lights in one just to light the thing, and I loved it. The drawers or the trays were adjustable, so I could put boxes in there if I needed to, whatever. And it was a 300 count humidor, technically. And I didn't want to mess with Boveda packs at that point, so I did a little bit of digging, and I found some automatic humidification systems.
Okay.
This particular one was a Cigar Oasis. That's a brand, but there's others that do the same thing.
Okay.
And it plugs into an outlet, has this thin little strip that will go through the door, and has a little reservoir, and all that good stuff. But what I didn't like about it was that it came with what I call the garden green sponge stuff.
Yeah, man, those are rough.
The floral green stuff, So what I ended up doing was I popped the little lid off of there and I pulled that out, and I actually put the beads in there.
Okay.
And these were the beads that would just take distilled water. And so I had one in each. And when I moved to the one that I have today, they're both in there, and one at the top, one at the bottom, and they work great. They're almost set and forget. I do have to, when the levels tend to start to go down, it's like, oh, I need to refill the water.
Mm-hmm.
But they do sell like Wi-Fi things that you can hook up to your phone, and it'll tell you when you're running too low, and it'll tell you when and I could do that, but I just haven't done that yet, and I don't know, I've just not seen the real need for it. But the one that I have today, I was in a very much situation like your humidor, where a guy was downsizing and he was just trying to get rid of it. And I mean, the thing is a piece of furniture.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
It sits on it's a floor. It sits on the floor, and it's 5 feet tall. Has one huge door in it, and it actually has outlets
Yeah.
inside the humidor.
Yeah.
So it has a plug on the outside there. You plug into the wall or whatever, and then there's outlets inside that let
Yeah.
you put your humidification in there. But the great thing about it is I have more room than I say that I could possibly need. It's full of boxes. Like the box space is full,
It's a
right?
good problem to have.
It's a good
It's a
problem to
good
have.
problem to have.
But it was $1,000 humidor that I got for $150,
Can't beat that, man.
and you can't beat that. So if you're looking for a humidor, and if you're looking to upsize, whatever, just go on, I don't know, go on Craigslist or go on Facebook, or there's plenty of places you can go where people are talking about cigars and humidors, and I don't know how you ended up getting yours. Bless
Excuse
you.
me. Thank you.
Did you just know the guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a person that we smoked with on a regular basis, Dennis King. He,
Okay.
he was listening to me tell somebody about how I had this small humidor and like had no space, and like I had the little
Yeah.
desk humidor, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I had bags of cigars with
On the
Bovita
side,
packs in
on the
it,
side.
like hiding them from the sun and stuff. So
Right, because you
he
don't
was
want
like,
to be.
dude,
Yeah.
I got a humidor I can sell you. I'm not even using it right now.
So he had an extra one.
He had an extra. He wasn't
Okay.
even using it.
All right.
And so
Yeah.
he
So
let me
listen,
buy that.
if you're looking for a humidor, there are people out there that are selling humidors, and they're selling them really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole coolador thing, and I don't know if you've heard much
Yep.
about that, but
Yep. There's also Tupperdoors.
there is Tupperdoors. I've got a friend of mine who recently purchased a coolador, and there's people getting rid of those too, right?
Mhm.
So you don't have to buy new, is what I'm trying to say. But if that's your thing, go ahead.
Right.
And the coolador is kind of neat, right? It's kind of sort of refrigerator, with the humidification built in, but typically those don't hold a lot.
Right.
So that's the downside, right? It's the size of a mini fridge, right, that you might see in a hotel or
Right.
whatever, but it only holds 200 or 300, or whatever, maybe 500, whatever. So those are for the people who really want to make sure that their cigars are temperature controlled.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, if you're keeping your stuff in your house, or whatever, in a room, I mean, most people keep their houses around 70 degrees, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Cigars, somewhere between, I'm sure this will give me some flack, but somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees is not going to make that big of a difference to a cigar.
That's true. I think some people like with, I guess, maybe more specific cigars, maybe Cubans, they even like those to be a little bit lower, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mhm.
Like they get
Yeah,
them
because
under
they
that
don't want
65.
them. So they don't want them to age, right? So we haven't talked about aging, but you can age your own cigars, but you're not going to do that at 70 degrees and 70% humidity, right? And I'm not going to pretend to know the nuances of aging.
Right. Right.
But I know that the way that I store my cigars at 67% and 70 degrees
Mhm.
is not aging my cigars.
Right.
So, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with not aging my cigars. I don't really have anything in there that I'm really wanting to age, and that's not my thing. But for some people, like, that's a real thing for them.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll get there one day. I don't know. I am trying to, how do I say this? I'm trying to start a collection of older cigars. I
Okay.
guess I don't know a better way to say that, right? So, like, for instance, I have a box of Fires from 2018, or that's the year on them. So they released those in 2021, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was 22. I don't know. But I found a box of those last year, and I'm hanging on to them. Again, I'm not aging them, but I'm interested to see how they're going to taste a few years from now.
Right.
In the way that I'm storing them.
Okay. I got you. So I'll tell you this about the cigar we're smoking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my draw is tightening up a little bit as I get into that second, third.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, it's got a great ash, right? Like, if you can see that. The ash is very good on it. Um, so since we're in Jason's home lounge, and I don't want to damage his beautiful chairs and his floor, I'm going to ash. But if we were at the lounge, I'd probably ride it a little bit longer and see if pause. Excuse me.
So let's talk about the ashing.
Yeah.
Right. There's a stigma about to ash or not to ash.
Yeah, there very
Right?
much is.
Right. And I am of the I am of the opinion that I much prefer to just ash as needed.
Yes,
You
I
know,
think so
and
too. So
and
I
I
know
just did, right? I just ashed.
I know some people
They just let it
enjoy
ride.
drawing through
That's right.
the ash,
They
right?
do.
Like
They let it. They want it to kind of ash when it does.
yes,
Right.
right. But I don't like to make a mess. I don't want it all over me. So the
Right.
bad
So
news about that is you never know when it's gonna fall.
that's right.
Right.
And some people talk about, it's good luck when you ash on yourself. And I have ashed on myself
Oh,
more times than I can count.
absolutely.
I mean,
But for me, like today, I'm not. But in a lot of situations, I'm smoking in a suit.
that's true.
Right. So
Yeah.
yes, ashing on yourself is considered good luck, but it's also hard as hell to get. Like once you bury that ash in your suit, it's going to the dry cleaners.
And it's
right?
not coming out.
And again,
until
if
it
you're
goes out to
smoking in a or in a place that's not ventilated as well as it should be, you're gonna have to take it to the dry cleaners anyway. But if you
Right.
ash on yourself, it's just that much worse.
That's right. Yeah.
So
definitely.
I've got a couple of methods that I can use to
Mhm.
take the smoke out of my suit, and try to
Yeah.
get maybe 2 wears out of it before I have to take it to the dry cleaner.
Right.
But to each his own, right? Like when you join this culture, you join cigar and bourbon culture, you'll find very quickly that everybody has their own method of doing everything.
That's right.
And it is it's so okay to have your own method, right? Like that's the part of it. You smoke how you want, you drink
right.
how you want.
That's right.
As long as you're doing both responsibly.
Yep.
I don't
The
think
community
there's
is
a big
very
deal.
accepting.
Yeah.
The community is very accepting, unless you mix the good stuff.
Yeah.
Then we're going to give you
mix my bourbon with Coke,
we're going to give you the hell.
Yeah, we're gonna have a problem.
We're going to give you hell.
Yeah.
Until you stop doing it.
Yeah. And again, to each his own.
We're still going to give you hell. You could do it, but we're going to give you hell.
Because a lot of my bottles are very, very good, and I think you should taste them.
That's right.
Without any Coke or Pepsi or whatever your mixer of choice is.
Yes.
Unless, let me not say that. I'm a fan of old fashions, right? So bourbon and whiskey and old fashions.
Yeah.
Great. Mix it up.
That's right.
Jackie Matting, one of our favorite people, she makes a great old fashioned.
She does.
And I
Smokes
love
it.
Dude, listen. Check out their podcast as well. It's Sips and Sticks with Jack and Jill.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So Jackie Matting, Jill Pierce, they've got a phenomenal podcast as well. They're also members of our nonprofit organization that we are members of the board, Tennessee Cigar and Bourbon Society. So it's a nonprofit organization that we're doing some things with around tastings, and cigar events.
That's right.
And giving back to the community.
Yeah, and helping the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. That's a big part of it. So for those of you that have some anxiety around the protocols of drinking and smoking, I would say this. Just do you.
Yeah.
Just do you. Be natural. Don't
enjoy.
Yeah, don't try to mimic people. It's meant for you to enjoy it how you enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And for the people that we like to razz about, mixing our good bourbons, it's all in good fun.
It is.
And
they always come back.
Yeah, and so this podcast, we will rarely show you a bourbon that requires mixing. And so the things that we're going to show you, what we're drinking right now, while it may be the lower end of something we would drink neat, it's still something we're going to drink neat.
Right.
And often.
So going to the bourbon, right?
Yes.
Like I'll say this. It's not my favorite.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The flavor profile is not something that definitely jumps out at me as something that like I think is phenomenal. It's good.
Yeah.
But I think you can definitely tell from the King's line, it is one of their regular bourbons. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So they're like their core bourbon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it's probably a base for a lot of things that they do.
So compared to the like the Tumbling Dice that we've reviewed before.
Ooh. Okay. So let's see.
Right. That's a hard comparison, right? Because this is not a high rye. You know, and even though the Tumbling Dice is, it doesn't taste like it.
So for me, like,
I feel like the Tumbling Dice is
where I'm at.
sweeter. It's a little bit better, right?
Yeah, it's just a tad bit better.
You know, and not that this is bad, but
it's just not as good as that. That's the truth.
Yeah, right? I think I have to agree with you. You know, if they're both sitting on the table and I have to pick one, I'm probably going to go with the Tumbling Dice.
And again, you have to remember, all of these things are personal preference.
Of course.
Right? So your palate may not be my palate.
Yes.
So
and again, we have a large group of people who would go for the Kings before the Tumbling Dice.
Absolutely. And you have a large community of people that would go for the Kings just because of the name versus Tumbling Dice, right?
That's right.
So
yes.
I think with all of those things that we have just said, you enjoy how you want to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does.
Right.
You know, so I think they're close, right? I think that's the point we're really making here is that, you know, they're very much neck and neck. And so, you know, it's one of those, like, if you're forcing me to choose, they're roughly the same price point. I think this one's more like 40, whereas a Tumbling Dice is, you know, 33-ish or something like that.
So it's very close, right?
You know, so they're very close in price point.
If you're out buying bourbon, you're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a distinction between 33 and $40.
That's right. You know, so if you haven't had either one, my recommendation: try them both, and then you can choose for yourself. But both very approachable, both very flavorful, and both very good.
Yeah, and again, so our podcast is for the person that is on this journey, right? Like, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Mm-hmm. We're two regular guys that enjoy smoking, enjoy having a good glass of bourbon or whiskey, and we're going to do it exactly how we want to, and you should do it exactly how you want to.
Yep.
And as long as you're enjoying it, enjoying responsibly, I think you can't go wrong.
No.
Right? So that's the big thing. So we've got to finish up these glasses, and we've got to get to this other King's, which is the honey.
Yes. So this one's interesting.
It's a big gulp there, buddy.
I mean, you said we needed to.
We got to get to the next
on.
one. Yeah, you know, like, listen. Sometimes you make me look like I drink too much because you know, I'm rushing through mines and you're taking your time. He lives here, so
I know,
that's the bad part.
I know, but I'm trying not to, like, you know, get too crunk.
Oh, he said crunk. Holy cow!
Like,
he said crunk.
I mean, what, you got a better word?
CRUNK. Like, that word is from like 2006. So I'm gonna have to get my boy some new lingo.
Yeah,
we gonna get him some of this hip hop lingo that he needs.
Man.
We listen. We lit now. That's what we do.
Okay,
we get
lit. We're lit.
That might even be old. I don't know. I'm 39 at this point.
Yeah,
so
old, man.
I can't keep up.
Hit 40, man.
Listen, man. My daughter told me, like, she was eating some dinner that my wife cooked the other night, and she said, "Bussin', the dinner's bussin'," and I was like bussing people to the table. Like, I don't really, you know, I don't know what that means.
You showed your age.
Yeah, man. Listen, I always do. I always do. You know, these kids, man, I love them to death, but they say some things that I definitely don't understand. Like, I need a dictionary or an urban dictionary at every turn, because my kids say something to me and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. No clue.
I love it.
You know.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and grab the pour of this. I don't see the need to clean my glass out because essentially the same bourbon, but
I'm gonna do the complete opposite and
okay.
actually clean my glass out.
So, oh wait, sorry, that's the regular. All right, so this one is a this is a pick from Rupin at Red Hot. So shout out to Rupin. This one is finished in a honey barrel.
Yep.
And it's quite different from a lot of the honey barrel finishes out there, right? So you've got like the good times. I think there's a Nulu out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably others, but this one in particular, the way I describe it to folks is you get the flavor of the honey without the overly sweetness of the honey. So some of those other ones almost feel like they just poured honey into the bourbon,
right,
and mixed it up, right?
Yeah.
And so it's sweet. It's overly sweet, right?
Man, I've got a terrible honey at home. Like, oh, it's rough.
What do you have?
I don't want to call it out because I don't know exactly which one it is. Like, it was really inexpensive. Like, let's try it.
Oh, I know which one it is.
Yeah,
okay, all right, yeah. So we'll just gonna skip by that. So, but with all of the honey barrel finishes, even though I don't really see anything in there, supposedly you're supposed to sort of jostle the bottle.
Really?
Yeah, because supposedly there's like honey particulates in there that settle. Okay. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to get the full flavor of it. Okay. I don't know. That's the story. So, we're just going to run with that.
Yeah, okay. I like it. I like it a lot. Again, drink how you like to drink, man. Like,
so that's
let me see it.
Oh, all right.
I'm there.
So I have to assume that because the regular bourbon is a 5-year bourbon, that must be at least a 5-year bourbon.
I would think so. I would hope so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so.
It makes sense, right? I don't think it actually says it on here.
So my question is, does King's have their own distillery, or are they they bottling?
So they are bottling from Indiana, which is probably MGP.
And we like MGP juice.
Yeah.
Like,
but they are in the Smokies, So if you want to, if you're a Smokies kind of person and you like that thing, so they're in Sevierville, right? It actually says it right here. And
so in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, and they're a husband-wife.
Really?
Yeah. They're a husband-wife team. Yeah. So. If I'm being honest, I don't know a lot about the distillery, right? And this podcast does not purport to know a whole lot.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by anybody, so we are just guys that enjoy having a good sip, a good smoke.
That's right.
And we try a lot of different things, so we're going to tell you our personal opinions on what we're trying. We're not trying to force anything down your throat and tell you should try this because it's this or that. It's just different things that we pick up at our local spots that we're going to try on the podcast and give you our honest opinions of them.
So if that aroma,
it's very good,
is completely different.
Yeah. But if you're of like mind of us, then you might enjoy some of the things that we enjoy. So I'm going to get a nose of the glass. What that basically means is I'm just going to try to set this glass on my lip, put my nose in the glass, get the aroma, see what I pick up, whether it's sweet, spicy, how much ethanol, that type of thing.
It's slightly higher proof. So the regular is 107. This is 110.
All right.
And
that is just much better.
It's so much better, right? Like, I haven't even tasted it, but I know, right?
It's just that much better. What you got? Chewing on it, right? That means that he's just taking the bourbon, swishing it around,
yeah,
figuring out what it tastes like on his palate.
Yeah, so I'm getting the Of course, I'm getting the bourbon flavors,
Mm-hmm.
but the honey,
It's very subtle at the very end.
the honey is there,
Yeah.
but it's not overpowering. And it is, I hate to say it's leaps and bounds better, but it really is.
It is.
And unfortunately, it's way more pricey.
So, okay. So, since we're there, so when we
We're
say
there.
way more pricey, we've got the regular bottle,
Like
which is how much?
$40. It's like $40.
All right. And then we jump up to the honey,
It's like
um,
85.
and it's a store pick, though.
It is.
So,
It is. So it's going to be a little more because it is a pick. But it is leaps and bounds better than the regular bourbon.
is it leaps and bounds
I
double
would,
the price
yes,
better?
I think it is.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I think it's so much better. The like the lingering, the aftertaste on it. It's still there, you know.
So I would also say it's more viscous, right?
Yes.
Than
Yes.
the regular. So, what does viscous mean for us? The mouthfeel. It's a more it coats the mouth a little bit better.
Yes.
Pause for my folks up north. Got me saying some wild stuff out here. But we're trying to do this podcast, and I'm trying to be very open and honest. But pause for my people up north. But yeah, definitely a much better flavor profile, much more viscous, much more tasty.
Yeah.
Right, much more enjoyable. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I hate that it's twice the price, but if you can get your hands on this honey barrel finish, it's definitely one to try.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is just much better.
I agree. So,
and I mean, we're looking at it. I know, it's half gone.
Yeah, we've hit it pretty good, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's really good.
It's been tasted by multiple people, but we're probably close to our time limit.
We are. So,
final thoughts?
Thoughts on the cigar?
All right. So, the first 2/3, very, very good. Great cigar construction. It has burned very evenly. I put it down for a small amount of time and had to relight it just to get the smoke production back to where I wanted it. Very flavorful cigar. I won't say full body.
No,
I don't get full body from it.
It's
right?
not.
But very enjoyable. I do feel like the draw has changed for me just a tad bit. And so again, I don't recommend this for any like super beginner cigar smoker. When I find my draw gets a little bit harder, I'll squeeze the end of my cigar just a little bit, right? So get some of that tar, different things to loosen up there. But a very enjoyable cigar, especially at the price point. If it's $8 to $10, I think you should throw this in the rotation and give it a shot because it's flavorful, it's tasty, it's got great construction, good smoke production. Overall, it's a very good-looking cigar with that beautiful wrapper on it. But just my thoughts. What you think?
I mean, this is a regular for me. Anytime I can get it for a really good price, I go ahead and score a 5 or 10 pack or whatever. It's in the regular rotation. And hopefully for you it is now too.
Yeah, I like it, man. Like I might pick up a few of these and throw them in the humidor and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on what we're drinking?
I think we we hit that the regular King's bourbon is good. There are others that we would probably prefer.
I would buy the Ryconic before either.
But the honey barrel,
it's good,
is exceptional.
I agree, but the Ryconic
is good. But again, so the whole rye thing, don't let that scare you,
Yeah,
right?
you just got to
So
try it.
we're gonna try a lot of ryes that they don't have the normal rye.
Spice.
Yes,
That's
thank
what it
you,
is. The rye spice.
thank you. So the Ryconic, we don't have it here, but it's exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Honey Barrel is exceptional. So if your local shop has it, hopefully they can, they'll let you try it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little pricey because I think that's like 85. It's a little pricey, but I think we can agree that it's well worth the dollars.
At 85 bucks, if I had never tried it before, I'd be very happy
Mm-hmm.
with the
Yeah,
honey barrel.
yeah.
But again, it's personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know your budget. You don't know mine. You just got to do what you can do and
Yeah.
enjoy what you can enjoy.
Yep.
But I think with that being said,
Let's wrap it up.
let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode 3 of High Proof Ashes. I'm Duran, my co-host.
Jason, JB Smoke, and we'll see you on the next one, man.
Come and see us.